Well, there's a good look at the best crew in the business, minus one, our Caleb actually getting that shot. Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by rockauto.com. Well, we made it all the way to Garage Ed in the alignment segment, man. This is going to be good, so I need you to put on your thinking caps, and this is interactive. So let's start out with an alignment, and we'll look at some of the angles in a second. But here's the deal. You're going down the road, and you say, hey, I got an extra $100 bill in my hand. I think I'll stop and get an alignment. That's not how it works, does it? Now, what happened is your car's pulling, you got a clunk, you got a rattle, something's going on. First off, 2 fingers on the steering wheel. Don't just let it go and expect to go 5 miles straight. That don't happen. 2 fingers on the steering wheel. If it's pulling out to the left or right off that 2 fingers and the weight of your arm, you might need an alignment. Now, what do? You can always read these tire patterns. This will give you a good indication of what's going on with alignment angles. You see the feathering right there? We'll talk about toe. That's a toe angle that has a problem. Overinflation, well, pretty obvious. It's all down the center of the tire. It's popping out. Underinflation on both sides because it's almost flat. One side wear, that's a camber issue. We're going to look at positive and negative camber, and then the cupping is usually something to do with shocks. The tire's bouncing off the road and you got an issue there. Now, what do? Well, you do your pre-alignment inspection. That's number one. We always talk about that here on Tech Garage. Listen, just go through the whole thing from top to bottom. You cannot do an alignment if the suspension is not in tip-top shape. It's just that easy. Don't bother, it's not gonna hold. Now, go ahead and drop the coffee. Let's get your arms up because it's the time to interact with Tech Garage. We're talking about alignment angles. The first one I wanna talk about is caster. Now, caster, if I turn sideways and you get your arms up, come on, everybody, get your arms up. All right, here we go. So we take the spindle and we go back like this. If we take the spindle and go back, the wheel moves forward. That's positive caster. That's positive. That gives us good steerability, gives us a nice tight steering. If we go this way, the spindle's going this way, the wheel goes back in the well, that's negative caster. Now, negative caster, you know, your shopping buggy when you go down the road, in the shopping buggy, or you go to the store and that thing's wobbling all over the place, it tends to go the other way. That's a good example of negative caster. Now, positive, think about riding that bicycle. You let your hands off the steering wheel and it just goes nice and straight. Why? Good steerability. It's way out there like our chopper here. That's positive caster. Now, a car always pulls to the most negative caster. Well, that makes sense too. If this one's in and this one's out, I automatically want to go in this direction. So negative caster, it's going to pull. Next one, let's look at camber. Now, camber is the tilting of the tires in and out viewed from the front. So if I tilt them in like this, that's actually negative camber. Now, remember that one side tire wear? Right here on the inside of both of these, negative. Now, I'm exaggerating, but that's negative camber. Positive camber, the tires are going to be tilted out this way. Most cars employ about 0 camber straight up and down, but if it starts getting to this angle right here, you're going to wear around the outside of the tire all the way around. Last but not least, there's toe. Now, toe, we can demonstrate with toe in. If we got it towed in like that, your tires are pulled in. We're scuffing the tires from the outside in. That's that feather wear. Now, depending on the direction of the feather wear, depending on my toe angle. This one is going from the outside in. If I go this way, I'm actually going from the inside out. You're pushing the tires down the road. Toe is the most tire wearing angle. That thing is really will hack up a pair of tires in a heartbeat. So make sure your alignment angles are in good shape. How are you going to do that? Well, there's all kinds of adjustments going on. If you look down here, you actually have an eccentric right there where you can move that spindle in and out. There's shims for control arms, eccentrics for control arms, shims for rear end. You want the tire in the proper position. How are you going to do it? Oh, Dave's got some examples of different caster, camber, and toe adjustments right over there on our Challenger.
Well, John, there's a number of ways to make alignment adjustments depending on your vehicle. Now, some vehicles, you might have cams or eccentrics, some folks might call them, and these are basically out-of-round bolts like this, and every time you rotate it, it actually shifts the control arm in one direction or the other. And in that case, you can adjust both camber and caster. Or your vehicle might have a cam down there where the lower part of the strut and the steering spindle meet. You can only adjust camber down there, but it's a relatively easy adjustment to make. Some vehicles require shims, maybe something like this one, and you actually put the shim between the frame of the car and the upper control arm. You can adjust both camber and caster that way. And anytime you're dealing with tie rods, that means you're dealing with toe. First, you loosen the jam nut. You can turn the tie rod in either direction to change the toe and put the jam nut back down to tighten it up. And when you're doing this, you want to make sure the boot doesn't twist with it. Here in our Dodge, we've got a couple of ways to deal with our alignment issues here. We've got the tie rod, and we've also got the bottom of the lower control arm here. And those are the only two places we can make adjustments. Check your service manual to see what's right for your car. When we come back, we're going to be pulling trouble codes, so do not miss it here on Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com.